total cost was just over 11,000. The pond is around 8 metres wide by 10 metres long, and it's 1.4 metres deep. Those dimensions include the intake bay. It also has a 16 metre long stream. For filtration, it has 2 bog filters, the intake bay, and a high flow waterfall filter, which forms the headwaters of the stream. There's still some finishing touches to do with the landscaping liner that needs a tidy up, but I just wanted to do a cost breakdown for the pond, stream and filters. Like I said, there's a lot of landscaping I plan on doing, so that's why some of the edge work hasn't been completely tidied up. So let's get into it. G'day, my name is Kev. The aim of my channel and website is to help people build and maintain ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, please subscribe. I might talk a little about how each step came together, but this is more just a cost breakdown. For a more in-depth look, it's probably worth checking out the Dream Pond playlist. I'll also add a cost breakdown in the description. So the first step was roughly marking it out. That window there is our living room, so I wanted a nice view from there. Now this pond is in our front yard, so we needed to mark out where all the services were before digging. I was lucky that I had a mate that had some ground penetrating radar thingy that was able to track the gas, water and electricity lines. That same mate had a backhoe and he made short work of digging out the pond and bog filters. It took him less than 3 hours and he was happy with $200, and I was overjoyed that I didn't have to dig it by hand. We didn't have one of those laser level thingies, so we got by with just a normal level strapped to a piece of framing timber. Each shelf goes down approximately 60 centimetres or 2 foot. To line the pond, we used EPDM Firestone rubber. I had a length of 12 metres by 12 metres for the pond, 5 metres by 5 metres for the intake bay. That cost just over $4,000. This is the most expensive part of the project. Under the liner is geotextile, and then over the top of the liner we added more geotextile. For the bog filters and stream, I recycled the liners from this pond. This was the old pond that was in the front yard. That ended up being a pain in the bum as there was a few tiny punches that gave me grief later on. The geotextile strength was 272 grams per square metre. That's what Firestone recommends to cushion the liner. I got a 4 metre wide roll and it cost $1,600. Not cheap, I know, but I only want to do the project of this size once, and I certainly don't want any leaks, so protecting the liner in my mind was a must. During this stage I also got some seam tape, primer, rollers and silicone. This cost an extra $400. So all up, the liner, the geotextile and the accessories, I spent $6,000. Ouch. After the liner, the rocks were my next biggest expense. I got multiple loads throughout the project. I got 4 loads of boulders and cobbles. I spent $2,500 and I did reuse all the rock and pebble from the old pond. I know someone will ask, so I got 12 metres of large rock, 4 metres of cobble, 4 metres of drainage scoria to backfill behind the walls, and 2 metres of decorative gravel. That's all cubic metres. But also keep in mind, I had plenty of pebble and rock from the old pond, and I'm not sure how much that all up was. I really struggle to estimate how much rock I need, so don't ask me to calculate it. So far with just the liner, the geotextile, I'm up to just under $9,000. I was hoping to spend around $10,000, but the good news is I'm going to save a ton on the filters. For the bog filters, I used an olive barrel as a clean-out point, and I attached some large drainage pipe to the barrel. Water enters on the opposite side and it's pushed towards the clean-out barrel. The water can escape out the sides of the pipe and flow upwards through the different sizes of rock and gravel. The barrels only cost me $10 each, and the drainage pipe was $20 per length. I've used 5 lengths on the entire pond. And of course, the rock and liner costs I've already included. So far, I'm really happy with these cheap filters. For the intake bay, I've used some more olive barrels as pump vaults, and I ran in some more of that drainage pipe, exactly like I did for the bog filters. Having the pump situated over here means that everything on the surface of the pond is pulled towards this point. I put rock and gravel over the pipes. This pre-filters the water before it hits the pumps. And it's really another filter. Bacteria will colonise the rock and pebble as the water's being pulled down through them. Again, it's very cheap to make, but it's doing a really good job at sweeping the surface of the pond clean. I do have 4 pumps in this pond. I have an extra one that's pulling water off the bottom of the pond, so that's tucked away here in another $10 olive barrel. For the headwaters of the stream, I decided to add another filter. I didn't really have the room for another bog filter, so I created a high flow filter out of, you guessed it, another olive barrel. I spent an extra $75 on bio balls and filter sponges for inside that filter. The pond is running 4 of these Jerboa DC pumps. They don't have a huge cord on them, so I had to extend them myself, as I couldn't find any off-the-shelf extension leads for these pumps. I just bought some heavy-duty extension cables at around $25 for 25 metres. The pumps were around $250 each. So now on to the plumbing. The single most expensive piece of plumbing was the flexible 2-inch PVC pipe. I used 60 metres of this all up. The cost really adds up, and that alone was $700. Then I had other bits and pieces of assorted plumbing like valves, T-pieces, reducers, check valves, etc. I use so much pipe because I'm running jets, 2 bog filters and a stream, and I've got each separate component controlled by its own pump. If you wanted to save money on the pipe cost, you could oversize the pump and have 1 or 2 pumps running just one bigger bog filter and the jets. And I also have an air pump providing oxygen within the pond. That costs $150 and it's connected with just common garden hose. All up, the plumbing including the air pump was $1,100. So I think that's it for all the components I purchased to make the pond. Like I said, I still have a lot of landscaping and edge work to tidy up, but right now everything is functional and the gardening for me is the fun part. I did go a bit over my $10,000 budget, but I'm still really happy with my DIY effort. If I purchased this in a kit form, I'd be looking at around $20,000, and that's before purchasing the rocks. And if I hired a professional, I'd be looking in excess of $60,000. Now, of course, they would have done a better and nicer job than me, but I think once it's complete with the landscaping, it's going to look superb. I do hope this has helped give you an idea of how much something like this will cost, even when you're going down the DIY path. So it's not cheap, and it is a heap of hard work, but it's very rewarding. If you want to see the actual build and how all the components came together, do check out the Dream Pond playlist. I'll link that in the description. And if this has been helpful and you like this kind of stuff, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.